All right, good morning. 22 Kislev. Hanukkah just around the corner, even less than just around the corner. Hayom Yom. Okay. 22 Kislev, the Rabbi Frierdiker Rebbe. A practice instituted by the Rebbe. This is interesting because these are words of the Frierdiker Rebbe, and he's talking about a practice instituted by the Rebbe. So I'm wondering, is he referring to, his father, the Rebbe Rashab? Maybe. In other words, but it doesn't matter. Every morning after davening, including Shabbos, what?
Avi, just so you know, in the Chayenu, it says the Rebbe Rayates, or however you say it.
That's the Rebbe Rayates is the Frierdiker Rebbe, the previous Rebbe.
Yeah, that's what that's saying. This.
It's interesting because see, these are all sayings of the Frierdiker Rebbe. So okay. So from that perspective, it would be the Frierdiker Rebbe's father. But okay. So a practice instituted by, we'll go by Chayenu, they know more than I do. The Rebbe Rayatz, the Frierdiker Rebbe. He introduced this. Thank you. Every morning after davening, including Shabbos festivals, Rosh Hashanah, and Yom Kippur, say a portion of Tillim, as the book is a portion for the days of the month. That's what our custom is each day of the month. When Tillim is completed with a minyan, yes, Morning's Kaddish is said. In a month of 29 days, say the last two portions on the 29th. Say 29 and 30.
Okay. So just to clarify, yesterday's Hayom Yom said that Hasidus should be learned 3 times a week. And that's from the Rebbe Rayatz saying that, or
all of these are sayings of the Rebbe Rayatz. This is the
Rebbe. But the Rebbe put it together. Why would he put together 3 times a week?
In the introduction written by the Rebbe, Rebbe, there's a note that says, throughout this, my father refers to the Rebbe Rashab. My grandfather refers to the Rebbe Maharash. My respectively father and grandfather of the Rebbe Rayatz. References in the text to the Rebbe are to the Rebbe Rayatz.
Okay, good. So that's why the Chayenu says that, because it's true. So the Rebbe is the Rebbe Rayatz.
A note to the introduction from the Rebbe. It's on in the beginning of Hayom Yom. There's many pages of very, very interesting information about it.
Okay, good, excellent.
Reference.
So I'm not sure your question. So the order.
No, the question is that the Rebbe said to learn Hasidus every single day, not 3 times a week.
These are sayings of the Frierdiker Rebbe. All of these are sayings of the Frierdiker Rebbe.
Okay.
Compiled by the Rebbe.
So the Chitas. So the Chitas Chalukas Chitas only started with the Rebbe?
Chalukas Chitas.
The Tanya?
No. The
Chalukas of Tanya was done earlier.
Yes, it was done earlier, much earlier. So so that contradicts you're saying the notion of just doing it a few times a week.
I think the Tanya was divided by the Frierdiker Rebbe also.
You sure?
I'm not sure. I think so.
Or if you're like me, whenever I say something, somebody asks, am I sure? Then I'm certainly not sure. Immediately go, not sure. Go ahead, someone. Someone say? All right.
No, we don't know. Nobody knows.
We'll need to look into this, right? But the Chalukas of the Tanya, I'm pretty sure, so it was done much earlier than we're talking about. I don't think the Frierdiker ever did it. But let's all get grounded somewhere. Somebody will get us straight on all of this. In any case, say Tillim every day, according to the days of the month. Tillim.
I think. Can I answer that question? Because it also says,
of course, if you know, sure.
Well, I'm just quoting the introduction in the Hayom Yom, when the directions to create the Hayom Yom were from the Frierdiker Rebbe.
Right.
And
that's true.
There's a direction in here that says, Tanya study schedule as I apportioned for the days of the year.
Oh, the Frierdiker Rebbe?
This is in a letter from the Frierdiker Rebbe to the Rebbe.
Tanya study as ayah portion. So you're saying that the Luki of the Tanya were done by the Frierdiker Rebbe?
Yeah.
According to this letter.
According to this letter. Interesting. All right. See how little and how much we know.
So Moshe just looked it up on Google, and it says that the Rebbe Rayatz did the Chalukah Tanya. He's the one
that's what Rivka just said.
So then why does he say, okay, I guess we're left not knowing why he said 3 times a week instead of every day.
No, I think there's a difference. Because there's a difference between saying the Tanya of the day and studying Hasidus.
Absolutely. He's talking about, the Seder in Yeshiva, for instance, where you learn Maimorim. And that's the Seder.
Okay.
That's absolutely right.
Okay, thank you.
See the power of a group? Amazing. As always, we're dedicating this shir to God. That our learning down here, learning Torah, learning Hasidus, at least this is our learning Hasidus for the day, at least part of it, should give strength to and please Hashem, so that he should be pleasing us with his revelation of Mashiach. Refuah Shleimus?
Devor Rachel bat Miriam Chava, Refuah Shlema, and Leah bat Leah.
Refuah Shlema. Anybody else?
Yehudis Golda bas Eliza Chana, and Chava, Amen, and Chava Daniela bas Naomi Anna.
And Sivi Chaya bas Leah Masha, and Elka Rachel bas Eliza.
Refuah Shlema.
Alan Akiva Ari Ben Tova Kela.
Should have a Refuah Shlema, the Korev. And Borach ben Yomim ben Rachel Blima. Should have a Refuah Shlema. Okay. Exciting. The Tanya, where we are. Lessons in Tanya. This is the continuation of the compilers forward. Amaleket. Bottom page 23 is where we are with 22 Kislev, very bottom of page 23 in this edition. And in this edition, the edition is falling apart here. Okay. Page Daled. There's a big however. All right, so far, very brief. The Rebbe has told us, the Alter Rebbe, who is the Malaket, the collector. That's the first thing. It's a collection. And these collections are collections of things that he's chosen because these are the things that he knows are on the mind and heart of his congregation, which is all of us, Anshe Shlomenu, the congregation, the men of peace, the people of peace, of wholeness also, Shlomenu. And so he's addressing us directly because of his knowledge, his awareness of us. He knows us. So as he says now, this book is not like another book being addressed to an audience of who knows who. This is a collection of sayings which is known to, which I'm speaking to those who know me and to whom I know. Which is each and every person, the Anshe Shlamenu of the holy congregation of Hasidim, in our Medinas next to us, in our little Dalet Amis, in Crown Heights, and in the pockets where the Hasidim are, and everybody who is smuchas lezeh, and everybody who is nearby. All the expression, with which and amongst whom we have spoken words of endearment. That's the words of endearment are found amongst us. He's speaking words of love, bringing us all, embracing us all. The Gilul Afonai, and it has been revealed in front of me. Kol Tailumas Libam, all of the people that I know, and the tzaddik knows a lot more people than the people who have been in front of him. Remember the story that it just came up with, in one of the previous, we'll call them skirmishes. A very high-ranking general was in office of the Rebbe. And in the course of the discussion, the general happened to mention the number of soldiers who were killed. And the Rebbe corrected him. And the general was like, "What? I have reports from my people. I mean, they collect these reports." And the Rebbe said, "I have to tell you that they're in error. And the reason I know that is because the soul of every Jew passes through this office." Okay? So he knows us intimately, which is known to me and which is revealed in front of me. Kol Tailumis Liba is known and revealed in front of me all the secrets of everybody's hearts, umoichan and brain, be'avodas Hashem, in their service of Hashem, hataluya balev, which he adds, the service of Hashem, which depends, and I'll add the word primarily, on the heart, avodas shebalev, back to davening. Aleim titov milsi, on them should drip my words, literally, and my tongue should be like the pen of a scribe. Bikuntresim elu, in these pamphlets, anikroim b'shem lekuti amorim, which are called collections of sayings, milakutim mipi seforim u'mipi sefrim, which have been collected from other books, the Kuzari, and I mentioned them yesterday, and the Chayves Halavaves, and all kinds, and of course the Zohar and the Kabbalah, which have been collected from other books, and from the mouths of those Seifrim, those who write, Chadusha Elyon, their souls should be lifted, their holy souls should be lifted on high. Nishmasim, Chadusha Elyonim Nishmasim, Nishmasim Eden, their souls are elevated on high in Gan Eden. Hamafrusamim Atzleinu, which are known to us, those holy people and their holy writings. And some of the things that I'm writing here have been hinted to the wise ones, from other holy letters, from our teachers in Eretz HaKodesh, that should be rebuilt speedily in our days. And here, as he's referring particularly to Reb Mendel from the Tepsk, who, just briefly, I think we've gone over this before, you know it, that the history is that the Mezir Shemagid really appointed Reb Mendel to be the Rebbe of the territory, which included Reb Shneir Zalman. But Reb Shneir Zalman and Reb Mendel from the Tepsk had a relation of what's called Talmud Chaver. The Alter Rebbe was a Talmud of Reb Mendel, but he was also a Chaver, an equal. And then when Reb Mendel took his flock to Eretz Yisrael, there was some discussion, and the Alter Rebbe became in the stead of Reb Mendel. And many of the sayings here, many of the writings that the Alter Rebbe includes that he's collected from are the writings and the wisdom of his teacher Reb Mendel. And some of these that I'm writing down here, that are collected here, this is Lakutei, collection, I've heard from their mouths, Mepiham HaKodesh, when they were here with us. Kulam Haim, and this is an important line, not that everything is not important, but Kulam Haim Teshuvas al Shailas Rabbis, all of things that I'm writing here. This is important, I say, to keep in mind the entirety of the Tanya. All of the Tanya are answers on Shailas Rabbis, on many questions, Asher Sha'alim, which have been asked to us, continually over and over again. He's heard these questions. These are questions that seem to be on the mind and on the heart, need to be resolved in the mind and the heart of many, many, and therefore he said the whole group of us Hasidim. Each one according to his level. Losis Etzes Benafshim, who comes in to seek and to get advice for their souls. Avodas Hashem, in service of Hashem. So the entire book is to address questions, issues, problems, give advice, which he knows is the advice that's needed because it's being asked of him over and over again in the Chidus, in terms of what should I do? How do I craft my service of God? Because there isn't, the time doesn't allow any longer, to answer each and every one individually. In addition to that, forgetfulness is found, right? People go to the Rebbe, they get advice, and what did the Rebbe say? Did I write it down? How many of us went to Yehidus and came out of Yehidus and said, the next time I'm going to write it down? Because forgetfulness happens. Alkein, therefore, Rashamti, I have recorded, Kol HaTeshuvas al Kol Shilas, I've recorded all these answers on all these shilas, Bishmeret, to be preserved, La'ois, as a sign, Lies the Kol Echad Be'echad Lizikorin Bein Einon, to be continually a sign in front of your eyes, which is a little play on the words in Tefillin, Lizikorin Be'einon, in front of your eyes. Leidchak oid lekanis, and you know, and it's not going to. You don't need to go through the kvetch anymore of traveling hundreds of miles in order to enter here. Ledarba imi b'yechidus, to speak with me in yechidus. Kibahem, because in all of these recordings, these teachings, these collections, yimsa marugua lenafshe, is found rest and comfort to the soul. The Eitz and Nechuna, and proper advice, settled advice, the call davar hakasha elav, to everything which is difficult for you, be'avodas Hashem, in your service of Hashem. And these writings are to bring about that your heart should be trustful in Hashem. Is that it? I'm not sure if I have a mark in my book. I can't even see if that's the right word. Continually. Just help me out if there's a lesson in Tanya translates it differently, because somehow my book is a little smudged here. And anybody who's literally short-minded, right? Das is not able to contain everything. To understand and absorb everything which is in these writings, in these pamphlets, right? Which is all of us, which is why we all have teachers who are more learned than we are. Yeah. So anyone whose mind can contain everything that's here, go and explain the things that are bothering, Go and explain the things that are bothering you in front of Gedolim, the more wise ones, the ones who know more, the Gedolim in the cities. And they'll help with your understanding. Now he addresses them, the ones who are the teachers of other people who are coming to them with questions. Bahalei Bekashti, on them, on these people, I'm beseeching, Shalei Losam Yad Lepo Lisnakeg Ba'anova, the shiftless Sheker, that they shouldn't literally put out their hand here and say, who am I? Who am I to answer these questions? I'm a nobody, right? Hasidus cultivates so much shiftless that you could have what's called shiftless sheker, false lowness. In other words, the feeling, who am I? If you know something, you're obligated to teach someone else. That's and don't hold yourself in some false humility that you've got nothing to teach. So he's saying to these people, look, if people are coming to you and you have some understanding here, share it with them. And this fact, he goes on, he says, it's known the bitter punishment al bar, on one who withholds food. Bar is Aramaic for food. V'goydel haschar, and great is the reward, according to our sages saying, and a pasuk in Mishlei, Mer einei shneihim Hashem, that the eyes of both of them are illuminated. Ki yor Hashem ponav aleihim, Hashem will illuminate his face, their faces, or panais melechayim, with the light of the living King. Umechaya hachayim zirkenu, and may the life of the the eternal life, the life of lives, the Chaya Chayim, Yizakenu, give us merit, V'yachienu, and enliven us, L'yomim asher lo yilamdu oid ish Yisraelu, that we will come into the time when no longer will one person have to teach another. Why? Because kikulam os yodu oisi, because everybody will know me. This is the time of Mashiach. This is where, as the Rambam says, or as Yeshayahu says, he quotes, when kimole ha'oretz deus Hashem, when the whole world is full of the knowledge of Hashem, and so it should be God's will. And that's today's Tanya. But in the time till then, each of us have an obligation, a holy, beautiful obligation to teach each other what we know, to share it with each other. Okay.
It's Rosa. Good morning.
Rosa. Oh, Mazel Tov.
Mazel Tov.
You have a wedding, or you had it already?
No, just
it's coming up. Go ahead. You muted yourself. You want to unmute yourself or not?
So the engagement was last night.
Mazel Tov.
And Baruch Hashem, and Be'ezus Hashem, it will be Yud Beis Adar Aleph at night, which is February 21. Mazel Tov. And
Mazel Tov. Mazel
Tov. The chassan's name is Shimshon Kaplowitz. So there are a few things that, every time you learn, something else jumps out at you. And one of them is that these are all tshuvos on questions that people asked, because they must, it just tells us that the Hasidim of the Rebbe, they lived more for Hashem. Like this are the kind of questions they came with. He says everything. He says the whole Tanya is because of the questions they came with. So when we learn Tanya, do we think of this as an answer to a question I came with? Like,
well,
this is the forefront of their lives. Come on, to go to a Rebbe, to make the whole trip, and you get there, and your question is like, do I understand Hashgachas Hashem? Is Hashem constantly creating the world? Like, I don't know.
What don't you know? What don't you know?
Because if I would make the trip, it would be about me, to be honest.
Well, yeah, but remember, there is a part of Tanya we learned where the Rebbe says, he waves a little finger and says, don't come to me to ask about questions in Gashmias, right? Yeah. Remember that? That's the subject of a Navi, he tells us. The Naviim, that's their job. Our job is to, as he says here, to help you and bring you to deeper levels of service Hashem. So the Rebbe answers that. So if you came with that, he could tell that to you. Thank you, you're coming, but there's something more important right now, or for here, this is not the place for that. This is a place to learn how to serve Hashem deeper and deeper.
Yeah, so this is what this shows us, what should be most important and what was most important. Because I don't think I would make the trip. That's like a trip of 3 or 4 days, and you get there, and it's like, how do I do my mitzvos in a more meaningful way?
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. These must have been people who had this on their mind. That's what he's saying, right? Because these are the questions he got, and these are the category of questions that he's answering.
But I would like to marry those two ideas, because the reason they had those questions is because they were trying to live on a higher level Bagashmius. And in order to live on a higher level Bagashmius and to receive all the Geshem that Hashem sends down, you have to be more on the level of Yisrael, more in touch with your own godliness inside you, and operate from a higher level.
Yeah, but remember, throughout the history, let me at one point, throughout the history, the great, many of those who served Hashem totally were poor in Gashmias. And to such extent that, someone refreshed my mind, when someone asked one of the Rebbeim, teach me how to deal with my afflictions, he said, go to see Rav Zusha. And Rav Zusha, he went to see Rav Zusha, and Rav Zusha was really poor, hard, and nothing to sleep on, even on the floor. And Rav Zusha said to him, I don't know why the Rebbe said to me. I'm okay. I'm not lacking anything. In his poverty, he was fine with it because.
But that's exactly the point, is that he was fine with it. He was fine with whatever he had because he had reached such a level at Avodas Hashem. So he didn't feel lack. He didn't feel a lack. And I think that's all of us, humanity. I mean, now the Rebbe is telling us there's Tov HaNira VaNigla. We could expect like actual good, we don't have to like say, oh, well, I'm just going to go with the flow. But a lot of it was, I need to learn how to be so connected to Hashem that nothing bothers me, that everything Hashem dishes out is for
the good. It's for the good.
Yeah. So like it's for your own good. So it was, so a person would travel 3 and 4 days to be able to live on such a high level that his daily life would be everything easy, everything peaceful.
Right. Regardless of whether he had a lot or a little of Gashmis.
And also,
I think challenges don't leave the equation. I think the way they're perceived is different.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But also reading the biographies that Rabbi Afton puts out with the orange, there's a lot of stories about like brachas that the Rebbes give for actual Gashmias to get, like the Mittel Rebbe's Hasidim lived in Mashiach times. He bought like plots of land and he
was wealthy.
No, that's what the Mer Marash. I'm saying even the Mittel Rebbe, like he bought a plot of land and he had his Hasidim move there because it was too crowded. And then the way they describe, I think he's actually described it was Mashiach times for them because they knew how to tap into, just Avodas Hashem, including Gashmias in it.
Right. Let's see. We got 2 hands up. Rosie, you already spoke. Rivka.
Let's somebody else. Yes.
We haven't heard from Rivka yet. Go ahead.
When we're trying to put ourselves in the position of people going to visit the Alter Rebbe, you have to remember it was a select group. This is not people standing in line for dollars. It's a select group, and these were people who were self-selected, and they went because they were serious in their avodas Hashem. Right. So it's a different situation. That's all I wanted to say.
Yeah, I hear you. Rosie, you wanted to come back with something?
I'm thinking of people who I knew a generation ago. So the generation that survived World War II. And there was some of that. We could go back to the days of the Alter Rebbe, but also people who I knew, people who I spoke with on a daily basis or on a weekly basis. Because of everything they went through, what they came out with was that they wanted something of purpose. They don't want to just live for a bigger house and 2 cars instead of 1 car. They want to accomplish something of purpose in their life.
Right.
There was a draw. That's how yeshivas were built. That's how Hatzalah began.
Right.
Because people, that's how different chesed organizations began. Because there was a community that felt that we want to accomplish something. We are alive to accomplish something.
Yeah. So let's take that as certainly one of our bechains from today, that the Alter Rebbe is telling us that if you're going to hang out with us and go through this Tanya, you have to be interested in increasing your avodas Hashem, deepening your avodas Hashem, and deepening your connection with God. And that's what this book is all about.
Excellent.
Can I say that it just occurred to me that the Alter Rebbe's that this came out by the Alter Rebbe, in a way, it seems like it's a little bit of a reboot. In other words, initially, when we all learned Torah after Sinai and so on, the world was full of light. It was like unbelievable. And things were very clear. And prophecy was all over the place. And there weren't that many disagreements. And then eventually there became the need to write it down into the Mishnah and into Gemara. And that's when that's when you had to figure it out by talking about it and so on. And the world got on a little bit of a lower level. Okay. So maybe when the Baal Tanya came along, maybe this was a way of telling it whole again without questions and without, do you know what I mean? With where it's again clear, because among Hasidim there's not that shachar, the Tarya, back and forth. This one says this one says back. No, people agree because the main points are clear. And I don't know. That's what I mean by the reboot.
That's a good take. I mean, that's what he's saying. There's a lot of confusion and a lot of unsatisfied answers. So I'm here to clarify and shed light on it. That's a good take, I think. Okay, we'll take that and we'll walk away till tomorrow. We'll meet again, Mr. Hashem. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.